The lights above her blinked red. A loud alarm echoed through the dark metal room. She opened her eyes, breathing fast. Cold sweat covered her skin. She had no idea where she was. She sat up quickly. Her body moved like it knew what to do even. If her mind didn't, her heart beat fast. The room was small, cold, and full of shadows. A metal door stood in front of her. On the wall, strange numbers flashed. Her head hurt. She touched her forehead and found a small cut. Blood, but not much. Who was she? Why was she here? Suddenly a voice echoed through hidden speakers. It wasn't human. Protocol 9 initiated. Target, erase. She froze. What did that mean? She looked at her arm. A metal tag was attached to her skin. It read, Subject, a 2-9 decommission order. Active her name wasn't there. It's just a number. She didn't remember anything about herself, not her name, her past, or why she was inside this place. The alarm got louder. Footsteps echoed from outside the door mini, boots moving fast. Someone was coming, and they weren't friendly. She stood up. Her legs didn't shake. In fact, she felt strong. Too strong. She looked at the door. No key, no lock. But deep inside, something told her what to do. She took a deep breath, stepped back, and then ran toward the door. She kicked. Bang. Today. Door flew off its hinges and crashed into the wall outside. A long hallway stood in front of her. Red lights blinked above. Smoke floated in the air. 3 men in black armor turned to her. Their faces were hidden behind helmets. One of them shouted, Subjecta 9 has broken containment. They raised their weapons. Something inside her snapped. She didn't think. She moved in a blink. She was in front of them. Her hand hit the first man's neck. He dropped. The second man's gun had broken in half. The third tried to run. She pulled him back and slammed him into the wall. Silence. She stood still, breathing hard. Her hands shook. What? ... did I just do? She whispered. Her body knew how to fight. Fast. Perfect. Like a machine. But she didn't want to fight. Something inside her felt afraid, not of the men of herself. She looked around and found a small metal locker. Inside was a black jacket, boots, and a small datapad. She picked it up. The screen was cracked, but the file still opened. Project Echo's subject file, A9 status, terminate abilities, enhanced speed, strength, memory suppression notes. Unstable, but powerful. Must be removed if activated. She read it again. She was part of a project. They did this to her. They made her forget everything. She wasn't sick. She wasn't crazy. She was a weapon they wanted to erase. She ran down the hallway. Alarms continued. She passed empty labs, broken glass, and strange machines. In one room, she saw a mirror. She stopped. She stared at her face. Brown eyes, short black hair, a scar under her chin. She didn't recognize herself. Am I? She asked. No answer. But behind her, in the mirror, something moved. A soldier in white armor raised a gun. She ducked fast. Blam. Da. The shot missed her head by inches. She rolled forward, grabbed a metal rod, and threw it with perfect aim. The rod hit the soldier's helmet. He dropped. She breathed hard. Her eyes stared at his motionless body. She hated this. She didn't want to hurt anyone, but if she didn't fight, she would die. More soldiers were coming. She had to escape. She found a vent and climbed in. Crawling through the tight metal tunnel, she heard voices below. She's active. We're too late. Who turned her back on? Doesn't matter. If she gets out, it's over. The voice chilled her. She remembered it from somewhere, but couldn't place it. It sounded cold, sharp, like someone who didn't care if she lived or died. She crawled faster. At the end of the vent, she found a grate, kicked it open, and dropped into a large open chamber. Bright lights. A door ahead marked Ixatishi ran for it. Her heart pounded. Behind her, more footsteps. A bullet flew past her ear. She jumped forward and slammed into the exit door. It burst open. Outside, for the first time, she saw the sky. It was night. The air was cold. Stars filled the sky like diamonds. She had escaped, but she knew it wasn't over. Something deep inside whispered, "They will come for you. They always do." She didn't remember who she was. But now she knew one thing. She had been trained to win, and she would survive no matter what. The night wind touched her face, cold, fresh, real. She had escaped the underground facility. But the fight wasn't over. Not even close. She stood at the edge of a rocky hill. Below her, the land stretched wide, empty roads, broken buildings, and the ruins of a world once full of life. The stars above gave a little light, but something inside her felt heavy. She had no name, no past. Just the metal tag on her arm, subject to 9. The memory flashes came. Again, blood on white walls. Screams, metal tables. Her own voice crying, "I don't want to fight." Then darkness. She sat on a rock and opened the cracked data pad she had taken. It buzzed once and showed more files. Project Echo status. Terminated purpose. Create super soldiers with full obedient subjects. A series of children trained. Altered and erased results, all unstable except one subject and 9. Perfect match. Control failed. Memory locked. Her hands shook. She was the only one who survived. It wasn't just a fighter, they had made her that way. Born into a lab, raised as a weapon, and then forgotten. She didn't want this. She didn't choose this. Suddenly, she heard footsteps. Someone was coming. She turned fast, ready to strike, but stopped. A young man stood there, holding a glowing lantern. Dirty jacket, tired eyes. Not a soldier. He looked surprised. "You're not one of them, are you?" She stepped back. "Who are you?" "My name's Jox," he said slowly. "I saw you fall from the old lab. I followed." She didn't speak. He raised his hands. "Look, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm part of the resistance. We fight the same people who built that place." Her eyes narrowed. "Resistance?" "Yeah, the government ran Project Echo. Made kids into killers. We've been trying to stop them for years." He paused. "We heard rumors. That one of the subjects was still alive." She looked down. "They want me dead? Because you're dangerous?" Jox asked. She hesitated. "I don't want to hurt people, but you can."
Yes.
He didn't look afraid. Instead, he nodded. "Then maybe we need you." Jox took her to a hidden camp deep in the woods. A few broken tents, old tech, and quiet people sat around small fires. They looked at her with fear and curiosity. "She's one of them," someone whispered. "Why did you bring her here, Jox?" "She'll lead them right to us. She's a killer." She heard every word. She sat alone, far from the fire. No one came near. Later that night, an older woman came and gave her food. "You have a name?" she asked. She shook her head. "Well, till you find it, we'll call you Ash. Like the fire that stays after everything burns." Liked it. Simple. Quiet. Strong. That night, she stayed awake. Watching, listening, waiting. She had a feeling they were coming. At sunrise, it happened. A silent drone flew overhead. Then, the sound of engines. Black trucks surrounded the camp. Armed soldiers in dark gear jumped out. Someone shouted, "Incoming!" Panic. Screams. People ran in all directions. Ash stood up. She didn't want to fight, but she had no choice. Bullets flew past her. One hit a tree near her head. She closed her eyes for a second. Then she let go. Her body moved on its own. Quick steps. Perfect aim. She grabbed a fallen gun and slid behind cover. Soldiers tried to flank the camp, but she was faster. One by one, she took them down. Clean. Sharp. No wasted movement. She saw Jox trapped behind a log. A soldier aimed at him. She jumped. The soldier fired, but missed. Ash hit him hard. He dropped. Jox stared at her, shocked. "You saved me," he whispered. "I'm not your enemy," she said.
What?
but I am their nightmare. The battle ended fast. Most soldiers were down. The rest fled. The camp was safe, but the people were quiet. Some stared at Ash like she was a monster. One rebel said, "She's too powerful. What if she turns on us?" "She's not a person," another whispered. "She's a weapon." Ash heard it all. She sat alone again, under a tree. Her hands were still shaking. Jax came to her. "They're scared." "But they're wrong. I understand," she said. "Even I'm scared of what I can do. You've saved everyone." He said, "That matters." She looked up at the sky. A single cloud passed the moon. "They made me strong so I could kill," she said softly. "But maybe I can use it to protect instead." Jax nodded. "Then let's start by finding out. Who made you?" Ash stood. "Dr. Vex," she said. "That name was in the file." "Then we find him," Jax said, "and get your answers." Hey. She looked toward the horizon. A fire had been lit inside her. She still didn't know who she really was. But one thing was clear. She wasn't running anymore. Ash stood over Vex, her hand tight around his wrist. He struggled, but he was weaker than she remembered. His power was gone. All he had now were words. "You think this is over?" he hissed. "You think shutting down one copy changes anything?" Ash didn't speak. Her eyes locked on his. "There are others," Vex said. "Other subjects, other weapons. I made more than you." Ash let go of his wrist. "Where?" Vex smiled, cold and proud. "Too late. One of them is already coming for you." Then he pressed a small button hidden in his coat. The ground shook. Jack shouted, "Ash, we have to go." Ash turned. The glass walls cracked. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Vex laughed as the whole lab started to fall apart. Ash and Jax ran through the collapsing hallways. Fire burst from the walls. The building groaned and screamed like a dying beast. As they reached the exit tunnel, Ash turned back once just for a second. The lab, the mirrors, and Dr. Vex disappeared in smoke and fire. "Are you okay?" asked as they escaped to the surface. Ash didn't answer. Her mind was already somewhere else. If what Vex said was true, someone else was coming. Another like her. Stronger. Angrier. 3 nights passed. Ash and Jax camped in the woods, near an old water station. The Clone A-10 was locked in a stasis pod. Ash didn't want to destroy her. She wasn't a monster. Just ... lost. "I think she hesitated," Ash said one night. "Just for a moment." Jax nodded. "That means there's something human." Still in her, Ash stared at the sky. "That's why Vex hated me. I was supposed to be perfect, but I started to feel more than perfect," Jax said. "You're alive." Ash smiled, but it faded quickly, because the next morning, the ground shook again, and something deadly arrived. He came walking down the road, like a machine, tall, covered in black armor. Strange mark burned into his chest. B3, the last test. Subject Ash felt it before she saw him like a storm coming. He stopped 50 feet away. "You are a 9, he said. His voice was deep, cold. Ash stepped forward. "Yes, I was made after you," he said. "They called me better, stronger." "Then why are you hunting me?" "'Cause I remember," he growled. "I remember the pain, the cold, the labs. And I remember they said you survived." "I escaped," Ash said. "That's different." "You ran," B3 said, "while the rest of us were broken." Ash took a breath. "It wasn't your fault. We were all used." B3's eyes burned. "You should not exist." And then, without warning, he charged. The fight shook the Earth's B-3 hit like a hammer. Ash barely dodged his first strike. It cracked the ground where she had stood. She kicked. But he blocked. He grabbed her arm and threw her into a tree. It snapped in half. Jax shouted her name, but she didn't answer. She rolled to her feet and rushed back. They clashed again, fists slamming, bones straining. It was like fighting a mountain. Ash tried to reason. "I don't have to do this." But B3 only roared and attacked harder. He didn't want peace. He wanted to destroy her. to prove he was the last one standing. Ash fought with everything. She used speed, skill, memory, but he was just as fast and stronger. He hit her again. She crashed into a rock, blood in her mouth. She looked up, dizzy. He walked toward her, slow and sure. "You are weak," he said. "You feel that? Makes you soft?" Ash wiped the blood away. Her voice was low but clear. "No, that's what makes me stronger." She stood up, not with anger, but with purpose. She didn't fight like B-3. She fought smart. She used the trees, the terrain, the shadows. She remembered her training, but this time she used it her way. She tricked him into chasing her, then led him to a weak bridge over a small canyon. He charged, and she jumped to the side at the last second. The bridge broke under his weight. He fell, grabbing the edge with one hand. Ash stood above him. He looked up, hate burning in his eyes. "Do it," he hissed. "Finish it." She didn't move. "I'm not like you," she said. Then she pulled him up. He stared at her, stunned. "Why?" he asked. "Because I'm free," Ash said, "and I choose not to be a killer." B3 sat on the ground, breathing hard. For the first time, his face changed. Not anger, not hate, but confusion. Ash turned and walked away. "You're not a weapon," she said quietly, "and neither am I." Jox ran to her side. "You did it," he said. Ash looked at the broken bridge. "No." She replied, "I ended one fight, but there's more coming." The snow fell quietly. Ash and Jox moved through the frozen wasteland toward a mountain. The wind was sharp. The cold stung their faces. But Ash didn't stop. Jax looked up at the icy slope ahead. "This is the place." Ash nodded. "Yes, the final lab. The core of Project Echo. Where it all began." She didn't know how she remembered it, maybe a sound, a smell, or the feel of the cold walls. But deep inside, she knew this mountain held the truth. The truth about her creation, her pain, her purpose, and maybe her real name. After hours of climbing, they found a hidden steel door buried in ice. Ash pressed her hand against a scanner beside it. A soft beep, and the door opened with a deep rumble. Jax looked at her, surprised. "You still have access?" Ash didn't smile. "I was never deleted, just forgotten." They stepped inside. The lab under the mountain was still alive, dim. Blue lights flickered above. Machines hummed softly. The air was warmer, but it smelled of metal and old. Blood. Ash walked through the hallways slowly. Each step echoed on the walls. Faded posters showed children smiling with fake slogans: "Stronger tomorrow," "Born for victory," "Pain builds power." She felt sick. Jox touched one of the posters. "This place gives me chills." Ash stopped at a sealed door marked "Memory Chamber, Subjecta 9." Her hand trembled as she opened it. Inside were hundreds of video files. Jax activated a screen, the first video. It played a girl sat on a small metal bed, brown eyes. Hair. She couldn't be older than 7. Ash gasped. It was her. On the screen, a cold voice asked questions. "What is your name?" "I don't know," the girl said. "What are you made for?" "To win the beard." "To win," she answered quietly. "Do you feel pain?" "Yes." "Do you care?" "No." Jox looked away. "This is wrong." Ash couldn't stop watching. More videos played. She saw herself being trained, fighting, crying, begging, "Please." "I want to go home. This is your home now," the voice replied. "And you will make us proud." Then one last video began. A small boy, about her age, ran into her arms. She hugged him tightly. "It's okay," she whispered to him. "I'll protect you." Ash stepped closer to the screen. "That's my brother." Jox's eyes widened. "You had a brother?" I don't remember him," Ash said, tears in her eyes. "He was real. I wasn't alone." The screen glitc. Then Vex's face appeared. Not live, just a recording. If you're watching this A9, then somehow you survived. You were always my masterpiece. Not because you were the strongest, but because you were human. That scared them. So they erased your mind, but you couldn't be erased. You were too real. The recording ended. Silence. Ash stood frozen. Jocks whispered, "You weren't just made, you were taken. You were a child, stolen for war." Ash felt her heart break, canned harden at the same time. Suddenly alarms blared. A mechanical voice spoke. "Intruder detected. Lockdown initiated." Doors slammed shut, lights turned red. Ash looked at Jocks. "Someone else is here." Then heavy footsteps echoed through the lab. A figure stepped out of the shadows, not a soldier, not a clone, but a machine taller than a man. With glowing eyes and armor shaped like her face, Jocks stepped back. "What is that?" Ash stared in horror. "That's the final version." The machine spoke in a smooth, deep voice. "I am Victory 1, created to replace you. No emotion, no limits." Ash raised her fists. "You're not me. You are version 1, the machine replied.
I am
the future." The machine charged. Ash blocked the first strike, but it sent her flying into a wall. Pain exploded through her back. She stood barely. The machine moved again, too fast. It grabbed her throat, lifting her off the ground. "You feel fear?" It said. "I do not." Ash kicked hard, breaking its grip. She landed, gasping. Jax fired his weapon bullets, sparked off its armor. Ash shouted, "Run!" Jax didn't move. "I'm not leaving you." Ash turned and faced the machine. She was broken, bruised, bleeding. But she was still standing. She ran forward, sliding under its arms, hitting weak points. She remembered everything Vex ever taught her. Not to destroy, but to outsmart. She lured the machine into the core room. "Hey, metal face," she shouted, "come and get me." It followed. She ran straight into a control zone and slammed a button that activated the energy. Shield chamber. The machine entered. Then the doors locked behind it. Electric currents surged. The machine screamed. In static, then it shut down. Ash dropped to her knees. Exhausted, Jocks ran to her. "You did it." "No," she said, breathing hard. "We did it." Later they stood outside the mountain lab. The sun was rising. Ash looked at the snow, her hair blowing in the wind. "I wasn't born to be a killer," she said. "I was born into a lie." Nodded. "But now you're free." Ash looked toward the east. "If my brother's alive, I'll find him." Jocks smiled. "Then we'll keep going." Ash tightened her jacket. The lab was gone, but her story wasn't over, not yet. Ash stayed with the rebels for 3 days. 3 long, silent days. They gave her food, a small tent, and water, but nothing more. People watched her from a distance. They whispered. Always whispered. "She's too quiet. She's not like us. She could snap any time." Ash felt their fear. She saw it in their eyes. She didn't blame them. They had seen what she did during the attack. Soldiers trained for years were no match for her. She fought like lightning. No mistakes. No fear. Even she was surprised by her power. But she also hated it. She didn't want to be feared. She wanted answers. She wanted to know why she was made this way. Who did it to her? Jax was the only one who treated her like a real person. He brought her food, sat near her fire. "Ask questions, do? You remember anything new?" he asked one night. Ash shook her head. "Only flashes pain. A man in a white coat, screaming, then darkness." "Did the man have a name?" Ash nodded slowly. Vex's eyes narrowed. "Dr. Vex, I've heard that name. He worked for the old world government. Ran the Echo program." "He created me," she said. "Then he's the reason this world is broken," Jocks replied. "And you're the proof." Ash looked into the fire. "The others don't trust me. They never will." Jocks sighed. "Give them time. You save their lives." Ash shook her head. "They don't see a hero. They see a weapon." The next morning, a group of rebels held a secret meeting. Ash stood far off but could hear them clearly. "We can't keep her here," one man said. "What if they track her again? She's dangerous." "She's one of them," another added. "But she fought for us," the younger rebel said. "Or maybe that's what she wants us to think," the older one said. "Maybe it's a trick." Ash didn't move. She listened, her heart heavy. She didn't belong here. She didn't belong anywhere. Later that day, a scout returned with urgent news. Enemy patrols near the West Forest. Searching for something. Everyone turned to Ash. "They're looking for me," she said. "What did you lead to us?" one woman asked, stepping forward. Ash stood tall. "Nothing," air scanning the area. "But they're not sure." "Here yet. How do you know that?" the woman demanded. "Because if they knew, we'd all be dead already." Dot. Silence. Dot. Ash turned to Jocks. "Let me draw them away." "No," he said quickly. "It's too dangerous. I'm the reason. They're here. I won't let more people die because of me." "You're not alone in this," Jocks said softly. "But I was made to be alone," she replied. That night, Ash sat by the edge of the woods away from camp. Suddenly, she heard quiet footsteps. She stood up quickly, but it was just a girl. Maybe 12 or 13. Skinny, dirty face. She looked scared, but curious. "You're the one from the lab?" the girl asked. Ash nodded slowly. "Yes." The girl came closer. "You're like ... strong? Fast?" Ash smiled a little. "Something like that." The girl sat beside her. "You saved us." "I saw it. You're like ... like a storm." "My brother said you're not human." Ash looked down. "Sometimes..." "Hey, he's right." The girl reached into her pocket and pulled out a small toy soldier. "This was my brother's. He always said the world needs heroes. I think maybe you're one." She placed the toy in Ash's hand and walked away. Ash stared. At the small figure, a plastic soldier with a broken arm, her fingers closed around it for the first time. She felt something warm inside her. Maybe. Not everyone saw her as a monster. The next morning, a rebel leader named Sillin came to her. "We have a lead," he said. "An old lab, hidden in the north ruins. Records say Vex used it." Ash stood up fast. "Take me there." Sillin hesitated. "It's your mission, but it's a trap." "You know that, right?" Ash nodded. "He wants me to come? I will." Jocks joined them. "Backpack ready. You're not going alone." "I don't want you in danger," Ash said. "You've already saved my life. It's my turn to help you." Gave a small nod. Together, they left the camp before sunrise. As they walked into the cold, broken lands, Ash whispered to herself, "You created me, Vex. Now I'm coming to end it." She didn't know what she'd find at the old lab, but she was ready, and this time she wouldn't run. The ruins were cold and silent. Ash and Jocks moved through the broken streets of a dead city. Tall buildings leaned like skeletons, windows shattered, roads cracked. Ash had seen this place before, but only in pieces, in her memories. They reached an old glass tower, half collapsed. A broken sign above read, "Vex CORP, Research Division." "This is it," Jocks said. The files said Vex used this place before Project Echo went underground. Ash stared at the building. Her heart beat faster. "Do you feel okay?" Jocks asked. She didn't answer. Something inside her mind was waking up old feelings. Flashes of pain. She walked forward, past the broken doors, and into the shadows. The inside was worse than outside. Broken lights hung from the ceiling. Walls were scorched. Old blood stained the floor. Ed machines sat like ghosts in the corners. Ash found an elevator shaft. "This goes underground," she said. They climbed down the cables, landing in a lower level where the air smelled like rust and death. On the wall ahead, faded words were still readable. "Subject Observation Lab, Level 3, Ash stopped." She had been here before. Suddenly, her head burned. She dropped to one knee. "No, stop. I don't want this." A man's voice. "You will obey, Subjecta 9. You're hurting her." Someone else cried. Pain, screaming. A bright white light, then dashed darkness. Jax helped her up.
Gosh, what?
Is it? I remember now, she whispered. This is where they tested me. They walked deeper into the lab. Doors creaked open. Dust filled the air. Then they entered a room with mirrors, a long hallway. Every wall was a mirror from floor. To ceiling. Ash stopped again. She saw herself, hundreds of her. But it wasn't just her reflection. Each mirror showed her different. One mirror showed her younger, scared, crying. Another showed her covered in blood, fists clenched. One showed her smiling, a smile she didn't remember. Another showed her in a white uniform, eyes cold. Full of hate, Jax looked at the mirrors. What? Is this? Ash took a step forward. Memory walls, she said slowly. They showed us who they wanted us to be. Then, behind one mirror, something moved. Ash spun fast. The glass slid open, and a figure stepped out. A man in a long coat, gray hair, sharp eyes. Hello, A9, he said calmly. Or do you prefer Ash now? Ash froze. Dr. Vex, the man who created. Her. Jax raised his weapon. You're Vex. Vex ignored him. His eyes were locked on Ash. You look well, he said. Stronger than expected. You weren't supposed to survive. Ash stepped forward. Why did you make me? You were born for purpose, Vex said. Not for love, not for peace, for victory. I didn't choose this. No, but you were built for it. Your body, your mind, your every move, we made it all perfect. Ash's fists clenched. Then why erase me? Why leave me in that bunker? Vex's eyes narrowed. 'Cause you were too human. You started asking questions. You wanted freedom. And that made you dangerous. He turned and walked toward a control panel. Jax shouted, Step away. But Vex pressed a button. All the lights turned red behind one mirror. A new door opened. Heavy metal locks unsealed with loud clangs. Out stepped her, a girl who looked exactly like Ash. Same face, same body. Same eyes, but colder. Empty, like glass. What is that? Jax whispered. Meet subject A10, Vex said. An improved version. No feelings. No doubt. No mercy. The clone stared at Ash. You feel, Vex said, smiling. Oh, she doesn't. You question, she obeys. Ash stepped forward. You made a copy. I made a better you. Ash looked into the clone's eyes. No soul. Just commands. Vex gave a simple order. Terminate at 9. The clone charged. Fast. Silent. Deadly. Ash blocked. The first strike, but just barely. They moved like mirror images. Punch for punch. Kick for kick. But the clone had no fear, no pain, no hesitation. Ash grunted as a hard strike hit her ribs. She rolled back, breathing hard. She's faster, she called her. Ash corrected. Ash tried to talk. You don't have to fight. Me. You can stop. The clone didn't answer. She came again, faster this time. Her fist nearly cracked Ash's jaw. Ash fought back, but it felt like fighting her. His own shadow. They slammed into the glass mirrors. Reflections shattered. The images of her past broke around her. Ash saw her scared child self in one last mirror before it shattered. Then she made a decision. She wouldn't win. By fighting like a machine. She had to be something more. She backed away, dropped her stance, and opened her hands. The clone paused, confused. Ash said quietly, You don't have to obey. You can choose. The clone's hand trembled. For a moment, just once. It hesitated. Then Vex screamed, Finish her. But that moment was enough. Ash moved fast and hit a weak point behind the clone's neck. A shutdown port. She had remembered it from her own training. The clone dropped, still alive, but offline. Vex stared in shock. Ash walked toward him. He reached for another button, but Ash grabbed his hand. No more, she said. Ash stood at the edge of the frozen mountain. The sky above was gray, heavy with clouds. Snow fell slowly. The cold wind touched her skin, but she barely felt it. Behind her, the lab was buried. Its lies, its pain all sealed deep below. But she knew something was still unfinished. The The clone subject A10 was waking up Jax, had moved her from the broken lab and kept her in a stasis pod. She wasn't dead, just paused, silent, but not for long. They camped near an old bunker, hidden deep in the trees. Jax checked the pod. She's stable, but readings show brain activity. She's waking. Ash stood nearby, silent. You don't have to face her again, Jock said gently. Yes, I do, Ash replied. She's part of me. She tried to kill you. I know, Ash whispered. But she was made the same way I was. Same body, same face, same pain. Jox didn't argue. He understood now. This wasn't just a fight. This was Ash versus the shadow. Of who she used to be, or who she could have become. That night, Ash sat alone with the pod. It hummed quietly. Inside, the clone floated in a clear blue light. Ash looked at her identical in every way. The same eyes, the same face, but lifeless, cold, empty. She spoke softly. I don't know if you can hear me, but I want to tell you something. Paused. I hated you, because you reminded me of what they made me, a thing, a machine. She looked down at her hands. But now I know. You didn't choose this either. She stood up. I'm not here to destroy you. Then she opened the pod. The light faded. The clone dropped to the ground, breathing hard. She opened her eyes and stared at Ash. No words, just silence. She slowly stood. Ash raised her hands, not in defense. In peace, you don't have to fight, she said. The clone stepped forward. Her movements were smooth, perfect, like a soldier. Ash took a breath. You can choose, just like I did. Choose what? The clone asked. Her voice was flat but not robotic. There was a crack in it, a small break. Ash saw it, emotion. You don't have to obey them anymore, Ash said. They're gone. The clone tilted her head. I have no mission, no orders, no name. Ash walked closer. Then start with a choice. What do you want? The clone looked down at her hands. I don't know. Ash gave a small smile. That's a good start. But peace didn't last. That night, a drone flew overhead. It wasn't military, it was something new. It dropped a small black cube at the edge of the camp. Jax picked it up. What is this? Ash grabbed it. Her heart sank. A voice came from the cube. Subject A10 has been found. Reactivation complete. Final test begins. The cube glowed in suddenly. The clone dropped to her knees. She screamed. Ash ran too. What's happening? The clone's eyes turned white. No, make it stop, she begged. Ash held her. Fight it. You can. But it was too late. Her body changed. Muscles tensed. Face blank. A voice came from her mouth, but it wasn't hers. Emotion system offline. Mission active. Terminate subject A9. Ash stood slowly. Jox pulled his weapon. What do we do? Ash whispered. We end this. But not with hate. The clone attacked. She moved faster than before, stronger. The reactivation had unlocked full control. Ash blocked her strikes. Barely, they moved like mirror images, left, right, spin, strike. Every move matched. Ash didn't attack to win. Defended to wake her. Listen to me. Ash shouted during the fight. This isn't you. But the clone didn't stop. She punched Ash in the ribs. Blood filled Ash's mouth. Still, Ash didn't give up. You have a soul, she yelled. You just don't know it yet. Another hard kick. Ash dropped to her knees. The clone raised her hand for the final blow. Ash looked up, not with fear, but with tears. I forgive you. The clone froze, just for a second. Her hand shook. Ash reached forward and touched her wrist. You were born. In pain, but you don't have to live in it? The clone stepped back. Her hand dropped. She fell to the ground, gasping, and then she cried. Real tears. Ash pulled her into her arms. You're free now, she whispered. The cube on the ground sparked and hissed, then exploded. The connection was gone. No more orders, no more chains. Later, Jox brought a blanket. The clone, no longer a weapon, sat quietly, tugging her knees. She needs a name, Ash said. JX thought for a moment. What about Nova? The clone looked up slowly. Ash smiled. Means a new star, a light born from darkness. Nodded her first choice? Her first step? Ash looked at the horizon. The sky was clearing. Light was breaking through the clouds. They had both come from the same place. But now, they were walking different paths together, not as enemies, but as sisters. The morning sun broke through the trees. The first time in a long time the world felt quiet. Ash stood on a hilltop, looking down at the valley. Birds flew across the sky. The cold wind touched her skin gently. Behind her, Jox and Nova packed supplies near the small campfire. Nova was different now. Her eyes were softer. She still spoke little, but her movements weren't sharp anymore. She was learning, feeling, living. Ash took a deep breath. The fighting was over, but the war wasn't. Not yet, Jex. We got a signal. This morning, from the east, a rebel outpost sent a message. What did it say? Ash asked. They found something, he said. Coordinates, a list of names. Ash turned her head. Subjects? Jox nodded. ... Project Echo wasn't the end. There were other programs. Other children turned into weapons. Some still locked away. Some being used. Ash felt a chill knot from the wind. But from the truth. She had thought she was alone. But now she knew. Others were still trapped. Just like she had been. We have to find them, she said. Jack smiled. I figured you'd say that. Nova walked over, holding something in her hand. A broken metal tag. Her own. It read, Subject A10. She handed it to Ash. Then pulled a small piece of charcoal from her pocket. Slowly, she scratched something new onto it. Nova Ash stared at it, then smiled. A new name. A new life. Nova gave a tiny nod. Ash looked at her. Are you ready for what comes next? Nova paused, then said for the first time with her own voice, I choose to fight. Not because she was told to, not because she was built to, but because it was right. Later that day, the three of them left the mountain. They followed the signal toward the east to the wastelands, toward the unknown. They walked for hours by. Nightfall, they reached the edge of a shattered city. Broken towers leaned over streets covered in ash. The silence here felt heavier. Something was wrong. Jock scanned the area. The signal came from here. Suddenly a voice crackled through. A small radio on his belt. To anyone listening, this is Base Zero. We found survivors. We need help. They're coming. Echo was just the beginning. There then silence. Ash's heart raced. We're not too late, she said. But as they moved deeper into the city, they saw the signs, burned walls, empty bunkers, destroyed. Vehicles, then dash footprints, heavy, not human Nova. Knelt beside one, her face turned pale. Ash knew why. They've been testing new machines, she whispered. No more clones, no more emotion, just pure control. Nova stood. Her voice shook. We have to stop them. Ash looked at the fire in her sister's eyes. She nodded, and we will. They finally reached a small underground base. Inside were survivors wounded, scared, but alive. Young teens, maybe 15 or 16, all with strange marks on their skin. Subjects like her. Ash walked in slowly, hands raised. We're not here to hurt you. A boy stepped forward, limping. Are you Echo? I was, she said gently. But not anymore. He looked into her eyes. Then you're the one they talk about. The girl who escaped. The one who chose. Ash felt her throat tighten. You're safe now. But behind them, the ground shook. Jax ran to the entrance. They followed us. Outside, dark machines moved through the streets. 10. Maybe more. Their metal eyes glowed red. Ash stood at the door, staring into the chaos. This time, she wasn't afraid. Jax raised his weapon. We can't win this fight. Nova stepped forward. Yes, we can. Ash looked around, at the broken children, the rebels, the survivors, and then, at herself, she raised her voice loud and clear. We were made to follow, to destroy, to feel nothing. But they failed. She stepped into the light. I am Ash. I was built in a lab, trained to kill, and forced to forget. But I remember now. I remember who I am. Her voice echoed in the dark. I wasn't made to fight. She looked at Nova, at Jox, at the children behind her. I was born to win. Then the battle began. Ash moved like fire fast, free and unstoppable. Nova fought beside her, silent but strong. Jox led the rebels, guarding the wounded. The machines were many. They weren't alive. Ash was, and that made all the difference. Hours later, when the dust settled, the machines were gone. Ash stood tall, bruised, tired, but smiling. The survivors cheered. Some cried. Some just stared at her as if seeing hope for the first time. Nova walked to Ash and whispered, "We did it." Ash looked at the sunrise breaking through the clouds. "No," she said. "We've just begun," because the world was still broken, but now. They had a leader, not a weapon, not a number. A girl who had once been forgotten, but now stood for all who had been forced to fight. And she would never stop until they were all free.